Assalamu alaikum YouTube. Welcome to the third installment of the Be Like the Companion series. Today we are going to be studying about Uthman radiallahu anh and some of the traits that he espoused. Now, this video is going to be a bit short because I didn't do too much in-depth research. This is sort of like a prototype video that I'm going to be remaking in the future because the traits are so expansive, right? And that I can make a video on each individual point that I'm going to be making in this video. But of course, for the sake of conciseness, I'm going to be listing down the points that I believe that as a man you need to learn from the life of Uthman radiallahu anh. Namely, two traits that he embodied very well in contrast to the other companions, which are modesty and humility, along with his generosity. Right, and we're going to be learning how to apply these traits in our life. So the first tip is to not consume vulgar content. I'll be honest, fellas, we consume a lot of content in our day-to-day lives, right? And more than half of it is like garbage. It's filth. We don't need that filth cluttering our lives, cluttering our mind, because then eventually when we're exposed to this vulgarity online, we become desensitized to it, right? And desensitization to evil is like the kryptonite of modesty, right? If you want to be modest, you have to be sensitive to vulgarity. You have to be sensitive to the filth that you encounter in your daily lives, right? And you need to rebuild that sensitization, right? Because if you're on the right path, right, then you're going to be sensitive, and you need to be sensitive to what is not on that path, right? You need to be sensitive to the thorns. The only way that you can tell right from wrong is if you're sensitive to the wrong. All right. So how do you rebuild sensitization? It's more of a personal journey, right? Because a lot of people, they suffer from addictions in which they're addicted to vulgar content online. So it's more of a personal journey, I'd say. And I'm going to be making a video on this in separate because this topic is very expansive. But the only thing that the practical tips that I can give you is to just not go on social media that often and eventually lose the habit of going on social media too much, right? And this is going to feed into the next point as well, which I'll talk about in a while. But some tips that I can give to use social media less and less is to just, and this personally helped me a lot, is to just download an app that tracks your screen time and have it display your screen time whenever you open your phone. That's the simplest tip. It's going to show you how much time you've been spending on certain apps, right? And it's a really helpful app, right? I personally use an app called Stay Free, something like that, right? And it's really helped me regulate the time that I give to social media so that I can then distribute my time to other things effectively. And this has also helped me in becoming more sensitized to the things that I consume. Right, so now I'm not consuming as much content as I used to before, and because of that, I've become sensitized to vulgarity, and I'm still working on it. Obviously, I'm still on a journey, just like you, and this is the greatest tip that I can give you, is to just don't go on social media that often. Now, the second point is that solitude is key, right? Just the same way that you shouldn't go on social media too often, you shouldn't socialize excessively in general, right? And I'll be honest with you, fellas, humans are social creatures, right? And this is exactly why when you put the soul through solitude, it's a surreal experience. Your soul is not used to being alone that much, right? It's not used to solitude, which is why when you put it in that meditative state and you allow yourself to reflect upon God, when you allow yourself to reflect on your own self, it's a really great way to grow, right? And it's a really great way to grow humility and modesty in specific, right? Because you reflect upon what you say in those gatherings, in those social gatherings, and you realize, wow, I say some really stupid things, right? I say some really awkward things. And a little side point is silence, right? When you're alone, right, you can learn to build that silence. You can learn how to behave in social situations when you go in there, when you enter social situations. Excessive socialization it's not really a trait that's conducive to being modest, right? Because when you're in a group of people, when you're in a group of people, you have a tendency to talk a lot, right? Most of us do, at least. If you're naturally introverted, you won't have this problem, right? But like for me, I'm somewhere in the middle, but I'm skewed towards being an extrovert. So I talk a lot with my friends. I joke around a lot. And while, enjoying with your friends is great, there needs to be a limit to it. And I talked about this in the companionship video, right? Companionship is great, but you need to make more time for solitude, right? When you make more time for solitude, it's sort of like, it's like a reset button, right? It's a reset button, and it allows you to reconfigure yourself. Really great quote from Imam Shafi'i. When he was asked what are the things that take away a man's honor, he mentioned one of the traits is that he excessively talks, right? He excessively socializes, and this is one of the disease of the heart, is that you socialize too much, because it distracts you from things that are important in your life, right? And it takes away your humility, it takes away your honor, and it's not really that good. So make time out for solitude, right? Take some time out to reflect upon your own self, right? Even in public gatherings, it's not necessary that you need to it's not necessary that you should isolate yourself completely. I'm not saying that you should be the lone wolf. There's no such thing as being a lone wolf in Islam, which a lot of young men seem to resonate with, right? You need to maintain relations with the people enough so that they're not repelled by you, right? So, and they don't think that you're weird, right? Because then you need to maintain the relations, but you still need to maintain a certain distance from people, right? Which is why the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he frequently went to mountains that were so far away from Mecca, and he meditated in them, right? So the third trait to be like Uthman radiallahu anh is to be generous. Listen, Uthman radiallahu anh, we all know he came from a very rich background, right? But he did not allow coming from a rich background to make him arrogant, right? In fact, he was the humblest of companions. And you need to be like this too, right? Because if you're watching this, you're most probably from a privileged family. So never hesitate to give to charity, right? And obviously, I can't teach you how to be as rich as Uthman radiallahu anh was, because he was sort of like a business-minded person. I personally am not like that, and I still have a lot to learn in terms of, finances, right? So that's not really something that's my field. But I will make videos on this in the future. But basically, I want you to understand that being stingy it's a very pathetic trait, right? No one likes miserly people. No one likes people who are selfish. You need to be generous. Be generous when you give to charity. And when you give, and this is probably going to be a second point, when you provide someone or when you give to someone, don't expect to be given back. That's another, it's a very masculine trait. This selflessness that you need to have is that when you give to someone, don't expect to be returned, don't expect to be thanked, right? You shouldn't expect that, right? It's not your right. You're giving out of your own character. Another idea that I've been reflecting upon for quite some time is the idea about passive income. So passive income is basically when you establish multiple streams of income, and those streams of income give you revenue, right? And they give you revenue passively, so you're not actively working towards it. And it's a really great way. It's like having a side hustle type thing. And I was wondering, we can apply this to good deeds as well, right? So you can think of passive income for good deeds. And during the companions' time, this would look something like buying a well and making it public for Muslims, which is something Uthman radiallahu anh has done. So this way, you're getting the reward for every person that you get that drinks from your well, right? So it's basically passive income, but for good deeds, right? And in Islam, there's millions of ways that you can have passive income like this, right? Passive good deeds that you can earn. For example, when you leave behind good children, right? This is just a vague example, but when you leave behind good children who pray for your maghfirah, who pray for your forgiveness, right? Or you leave a Quran in the mosque, right? You buy a Quran and you place it in the mosque. Anyone who reads from it, you will get the good deeds. You will get good deeds for it. So things like this, right? So how can you as a young man have passive income for your good deeds? Let's be honest, worldly wealth is great, right? It's really great. You can do a lot of things with it now, but it's not important in the long term. And you need to be working on the long term. So one way that you can establish passive income is by sharing a verse of the Quran online, right? Anyone who listens to it is rewarded, and then you're rewarded to it, right? You've probably seen these posts like, share this for sadqa jariyah. This is basically what this is. Passive income is sadqa jariyah, but like for good deeds. So when you have all these streams of income, right, and if you think like this, then you're accumulating a lot of good deeds, right? And we all know good deeds, they beautify the face. They make your character pure. They make you modest. They make you humble. It's like a domino effect, right? It's like a positive feedback loop, right? It sort of helps you build momentum to do other good deeds as well, and it helps you in getting rid of bad habits. And that's basically all I have for today. And you might think, wow, this is very unlike you, because usually my videos are really, really long, right? The last one took the entire day to upload. But the thing is, I'm really busy nowadays, so I couldn't do like expansive research, and these are just random points that I had in my brain that fit into the theme of like modesty, generosity, and humility. But I will be remaking this video probably in the future if I get the time, and if I research more and I get more points, or I will just make individual videos about these separate points that I wanted to discuss. But that's it for today, and the next video is probably going to be about, it's certainly going to be about Ali radiallahu an, and I'm going to be discussing about his bravery, his strength, and his valor. So see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.